So the first camera is this one right here, the Nikon D3100. So this is a DSLR from Nikon, of course interchangeable lens with Nikon's F mount. This was released in 2010, so it's about 12 years old right now, and it shoots 14.2 megapixel raw photos, and of course JPEG photos as well. And then this has an APS-C sized crop sensor with a 1.5 times crop factor, so pretty much a standard crop sensor camera. On the back we have a 3-inch fixed LCD screen. It's not a touch screen and it doesn't articulate or flip out in any way. And it's also not super good quality. It's pretty much just used for scrolling through the menus and kind of looking at your framing for your photos, but it's not super usable for checking exposure and focus and stuff like that, because like I said, it's not really a good quality screen. Now this camera shoots up to 3 photos per second in continuous shooting mode, so not a super high burst rate, definitely not the best for action sports or something like that, but it does shoot video. It shoots 1080p video at up to 24 frames per second, so no slow motion 60 frames a second 1080p or anything like that, just standard 1080p 24 frames per second. However, when it records video, it's 100% on auto mode, so you can't really control your exposure manually, like your aperture, shutter speed, or anything like that. It pretty much dials all that in for you, like recording with a phone. So the video in this is not super usable, however, you can get away with it. I've actually made a few videos about this camera already, which I will link all those videos down in the description if you want to check them out, but I really wouldn't recommend buying this just for video recording. This camera does have a built-in flash on top. Personally, I wouldn't really recommend using built-in flashes like this. However, it's definitely just a good feature to have if you do need it. And last but not least, this camera weighs 505 grams. So you can kind of see how it looks in the hand. It's a pretty small DSLR. I have fairly small hands, and my pinky hangs off the bottom there, of course. It doesn't really have a super deep grip either. Overall, it feels decent in the hand, but it's definitely on the smaller side, which obviously could be a good thing because it's lighter than a lot of bigger DSLRs are. However, it doesn't really have the best grip in the world. And besides that, like I said, it has a screen in the back, a few buttons on the back here, your mode dial up top, and really not a whole lot of other buttons or dials or accessories or anything like that. Pretty standard. Battery slot on the bottom, and then the SD card slot is actually on the side here, which is really nice. You don't have to take your tripod plate off like you have to do with some cameras to even get to the SD card, but it is just standard UHS 1 SD card slot. Of course, all these are pretty much gonna have really standard basic specs because these cameras are all released like at 2012 or even older than that. So none of these are gonna have any specs that will blow you away. I just wanna say that right off the bat. But then if you go to the left side here, this has a GPS port, which I'm not exactly sure what that's used for, probably a proprietary accessory, a USB port, HDMI out, which is pretty nice, and then AV out as well. And that's pretty much it for the D3100. Pretty basic. However, I've taken some awesome photos with this, and it's pretty nice to use. It's just super simple and basic, and it's really missing out on a lot of nice features that newer cameras have, like fast autofocus and a fast burst rate. And like I said, these are all pretty basic, so none of the specs are really gonna blow you away. I guess one more thing I forgot to mention is it does have a hot shoe on top. Not all of these have hot shoes. I definitely love having hot shoes in my cameras for just attaching anything to them, whether it be a flash or a microphone or anything like that. But either way, that is pretty much the rundown on the Nikon D3100. But that wraps this video up. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.